they say necessity is the mother of invention, and I needed to set the toe in on the Mercedes, and because it's wearing the inside of the tires, which is an indication of toe in. And I checked it, and it was towed out quite a bit, and that does cause tires to wear. But I had no one here to help me measure, and so there's two, I guess, not inventions, but two things I had to do, and I'll show you. All right, so the first thing, jack the wheels up, or jack the car up to where the wheels are off the ground. You take a board and you put I've shown this before, but you put a nail through at an angle, and you just put it up to the tire, and you rotate the tire around until you get a nice groove, or a nice mark, all the way around the tire. And so that's going to be your center line, and it doesn't have to be perfectly centered as long as it's the same line front to back, but you want to try to get it kind of centered. So I just pick the center of the tread normally and just do a line, and you do that on both sides. And then I normally let it down, and this one you can't see as well, but you can see it, and you can see it enough. Then you let it down, and I like to just drive it forward and backwards just a little bit, just to kind of make sure the wheels are all settled and where they're supposed to be. And so what you're going to do is you're going to measure from line to line on the front and the back, and you want to get as close to the center line as you can, which you can't on here, but no matter where you choose, you want to choose the same spot from front to back, the same height, just to make sure your measurements are the same. And so I had no one here to help me, and so I cobbled something here to hold the tape measure in place. And so what I've done is I line the tape measure. You can see it's lined up right on the mark, and the vice grips are holding the tape measure. I've got a bolt threaded in. This is the where you would screw in to pull the drums off, or pull the wheel off, or the rotor off. And so I just threaded a bolt in from the back side so that it's sticking up, so that I can clamp those vice grips there. And this is heavy enough that it won't move. And so I just run that over and measure the line on the other side. Remember the measurement. And then I take this, and I've got to go flip it to the opposite corner, and that way it's orientated correctly. So if I take this little setup here, and it's rigid, you know, and then I take it and I line it up. There it is. It's lined up. Right there. We got it right on the line. And of course, now on my tape measure, it's easy on the front because you just grab it and swing it around the front. But now I've got to grab the tape measure and pull it across. And the car is not jacked up, because you can't do this with it jacked up. So how do I get the tape measure now? Because I can't squeeze under there. So invention number 3. Well, not invention number 3. Piece of wire. I come over here and I hook the little strap on the tape measure. And of course, this is harder to do one-handed. And come over here, same height, and I get my measurement. And so that's how you do it. And you keep going back and forth to make adjustments. And the next invention is for, I mean, this is a lot of engineering going into this. I say that sarcastically. Keep your wheel centered, of course. Keep centering your wheel as you make adjustments on the tie rods, and you're going to have to, you know, adjust each side to keep the wheel centered. And the way I make sure the wheel is centered, and it's just a hair off right now, but I've got the toe in perfect. So I kind of want to drive it and see how far the wheel is off before I make any other adjustments, because my centering technique is not precise. And I'm looking for my tool here. Let me find it. And our next thing, we've got a board which I have made sure is straight. And we're going to take this, we go right above the wheel cap, and we're going to go to the edge of the tire over here. And we check that measurement right there between the trim and the wood. And we come over here and we do the same thing over here. We line it up with the edge of the tire right above the trim, or right above the wheel thing, and we check that measurement. As you can see, it's just a hair closer over here, but we're gonna really need to drive it, and I mean, it is within a 1/16 of an inch, probably, maybe an 1/8, but I got the toe in perfect, so I want to drive it, and if I need to adjust it, I can, but what that will entail is adjusting both sides. Since the toe in's perfect now, I will have to make an adjustment over there and make the opposite adjustment over there. Now, normally you could say, if you were trying to do that, you would, you know, turn this side, you know, just say a 1/4 of a turn on this tie rod, and then go make a 1/4 of a turn on that tie rod. But for whatever reason, I replaced the tie rod on this side. I bought a Euro brand, and I don't know what brand this was. I was trying to cobble up something with this at first, and then ended up using that rotor. So pretty easy. It just takes some time, and I did a video on this before. I think before, when I did the video, I had someone helping me, and I adjusted it. But since then, you know, I've replaced the steering gearbox, I've done, you know, we've put a ton of miles on it, so it definitely was off, and I just needed to test it again, or check it again. And we fixed that slop in that wheel bearing. Quite a few things that we just needed to, obviously it was off because it was wearing the tires, and when I checked it, it was off. I checked it before I started, and it was towed out like a 1/8 of an inch instead of towed in. I shoot for between an 1/8 and a 1/16 towed in. I really don't know what the specs are on it, but that's what I've always shot for, and most of the time I kind of go more towards 1/8 of an inch, and that's what this is set at right now, is an 1/8 of an inch. And so it should be close enough. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below. Tell me some creative inventions that you've done out of necessity down below, and I'd like to hear of some of them. But you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get the job done, and that setup worked pretty well, and I'm gonna probably keep that in the back of my head of what I did there, because next time I have to align a front end, I will probably set it up the same way, because that worked really well. Alright, and just to show y'all how much it's off, you can see it's off just a hair. We straighten it up and we pull to the right, so we're about right there. I'm good with that for now. It is really close, and the toe end's perfect, and so we're gonna leave it like this until we do the control arm bushings at some point in the future, and we will know that we need to center it up just a hair, and yeah, it is really close. And I think it was about like that before, as far as being centered, before I did the toe in. It wasn't exactly